Hey, Taylor Rapp here from the LA Rams. Shout out to Steve Taylor, the real sports guy, and the honorary Ram. When Steve's talks sports, you better listen. Thanks, Steve from the Rams, for your continued support and love. We are taking it all the way this year, but you already know that. Go Rams.
It's Albert Prince Bell, 21-0. It's Albert Prince Bell, 21-0, checking in, and you rocking with Keeping It Real Sports. And we gonna be on these. We gonna be on a lot of times. I love the platform. Check in. It's the new wave. Like, follow, subscribe, and do all that good stuff.
Boy, as time flies. Thank you for keeping us relevant and supporting us for this past year. Join us as we kick off another year and a brand new football season. Keeping It Real Sports starts now. $50 shows in, man. Welcome to the Keeping It Real Sports podcast. I'm your boy, the Real Sports Guy. He is the Sandman, Andy Sanzada. We got a big show, NFL, college football. Oh, Andy, 50 of them, man. Talk to me, my brother.
Steve, just want to say thanks to all the fans that have been with us since day one. We know it's been a process. We had an idea, and now it's starting to really come to fruition. So we thank you for the continued support. To all those fans that have joined us along the way, thank you for coming along for the ride. Before we get the show started, I thought it was only fitting that with our 50th show, we look at the greatest athletes to ever wear the number 50 in each of their professional sports. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's take a look at it. All right, so we got Mookie Betts in Major League Baseball. 2 World Series, one with Boston in 2018, one with the Dodgers in 2020. David Robinson in the NBA. Obviously, Steve, I had to put a spur in there for you, my brother. 2 NBA championships, 1999 and 2003. I believe I got that right. Mike Singletary, Hall of Famer, and a legend at the linebacker spot. Won 1 Super Bowl with the famous 1986 Bears defense. And then Corey Crawford had to be the pick for the NHL. 2 Stanley Cups with the Chicago Blackhawks in 2013 and 2015 as well. So there you go, Steve. The greatest players to ever wear number 50.
Man. But as we always do, let's see what's hot off the press, Andy.
Well, this is an obvious choice, Steve, with the unfortunate passing of Queen Elizabeth II. The fight of the year now has been postponed until October. So Clarissa Shields and Savannah Marshall were supposed to fight tonight at 5 o'clock Eastern in Scotland, but out of respect for the passing of the Queen, they have postponed the fight, and they will move it into October. I know you're disappointed, but at the same time, I know you're respectful enough to understand why the decision was made.
Absolutely respectful enough, man. Enough can't be said. All it does is it gives us more ammunition and more anxiety to lead up to this big fight, man. It's gonna be a big fight, man. I can't wait.
Yeah, and now we can feature it on Between the Gloves.
Oh man, yeah, that's gonna be better because we had a big Between the Gloves weekend last weekend. Andy, you know what we got to do now? Quick hitters. Quick hitters.
All right, our first quick hitter this week, Steve, is going to be jumping around here. Big news for the WWE in a negative way, but kind of, not really, I guess. But for a few months at least, Pat McAfee is going to step aside, and he's going to do College Game Day with ESPN. This was an opportunity that he couldn't pass up. And this just goes to show you the difference between the regime of Triple H and Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon would have said it's an all or nothing thing. Triple H is respectful enough to allow McAfee to better his career in multiple ways. They have a great relationship. He's going to step aside during football season, and he's already killing it on game day this morning, Steve.
Killing it. Had a chance to see him before we came on the air, man. He is absolutely killing it. It's a great move for them. My quick hitter, man, has to go back to last Saturday night, Andy, at the Huntington Center. Albert the Prince Bell against Victor Polanco. Nicholas Victor Polanco. He was 20-2 coming into this match. What happened? Well, Albert Bell won. Look at the judges' scorecards. He was perfect. 190, 100 to 90, 99, 91. Man, it was a great fight. And here's even bigger news. You can see that fight next Friday night. Friday night fights right here on Keeping It Real Sports, the very first sporting event on Keeping It Real Sports. You can see this fight Friday night at 9 o'clock. Friday night at the fights. Man, told you we could do a big on Keeping It Between the Gloves.
Hey, you got to get Albert to cut a new promo now because he's not 21-0. He's 22-0 after that big win last week.
23-0.
Oh, by the way, Steve, we forgot to mention he did that with a broken hand, right?
Yeah, he did. He injured his hand in the fourth round. He literally beat that man with one hand for the last 8 rounds. It was an incredible fight to watch, man. Make sure you tune in next Friday night. You can see the whole fight.
All right, my quick hitter is going to be the big announcement yesterday out of Major League Baseball and the fact that we've got some rule changes that I'm excited about, Steve Taylor. I might actually watch more baseball next season because of this. It's about time they acknowledge the fact that the games are too damn long. All right? First and foremost, let's start with the timing. The pitch timer is going to be 15 seconds. The pitcher has 15 seconds to get the ball out of his hand to home plate when the bases are empty. He gets an extra 5 seconds to keep an eye on the runner when the runner is on the base. Hitter receives 1 timeout per plate appearance. This is brilliant, Steve. How many times have we watched a game where players just want to mess in the pitcher's head and step out the blocks time and time again? They can only do that once. And the average 9-inning game should be reduced from 26 minutes from last season. Bigger bases. This is for player safety. I like this as well. They want to go from 15 to 18 inches. We see a lot of guys break ankles, sprain ankles, break legs even, sliding into the base because it's not big enough for them to land on. That's going to change. It's going to go from 15 to 18 square inches. This is going to be a huge impact. I think you're going to see more energy out of the players. And, Steve, you're going to see more stolen bases, which is going to be exciting for the game. This is my favorite one of all. The shift restriction is finally going to be put in place. No more heavy shifts to where a left-handed batter cannot pull the ball or a right-handed batter cannot pull the ball. Only 2 infielders can shift, and they must be on the side of the base when the pitch is released. I love it. I'm excited about baseball next year because of all this. I think it's a great move by Major League Baseball. Even though the players were not unanimous, Steve, they went ahead and went forward with it, and it's going to be positive for the sport.
Well, I tell you what I'm excited about, man, is tonight because I get to focus fully on UFC 279. And there was a major shakeup only in MMA because Dana White did it right. Yesterday, it was Diaz versus Chimaev. Chimaev comes in 7.5 pounds overweight. So what does they do? Dana White thinks, and he takes and shifts the entire card around, and it makes more sense. Chimaev, before the weigh-in, took a swing at Kevin Holland, backstage, and there was a big fight, a brawl that took place. So since you want to throw punches at people, well, then you fight him, and that's what's going to happen tonight. Chimaev against Kevin Holland, that's going to be a big fight, but Nate Diaz goes out on his swan song against Tony Ferguson. This makes sense. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, great move by Dana White, and it just goes to show you when you have somebody that knows what they're doing at the top, you can still live up to the fans' expectations.
Yeah, I have to apologize to you because I was in real time getting this news when you were trying to talk to me yesterday. But, man, I tell you, man, Ariel Hamani did a great job at keeping us, man, informed, man. I got all of that news firsthand.
We got the sources, folks. You might not think we do, but we've got the sources. I actually think that Diaz-Ferguson will be a better fight than Chimaev would have been.
Absolutely. It's because Chimaev would have really put it on him, man. And, I tell you what we got to do, man. Oh, by the way. Oh, by the way.
Oh, by the way, Steve Taylor, the Ohio State Buckeyes and the Notre Dame Fighting Irish had the most watched game last week and the most watched game in 5 years. 10.5 million viewers, and they lived up to the hype, my friend. That was a hell of a football game. You got to give Notre Dame a lot of credit, but you got to give the Buckeyes just a little bit more because they came out on top.
Oh, by the way, I know Serena Williams is retiring, but there are two major African-American tennis stars on the rise. Frances Tiafoe on the men's side, Coco Gauff on the women's side. They both had great runs in this Open. They're both starting to mature. Keep your eyes on these two stars, people.
You and I were watching Tiafoe's match last night and texting each other at 12:30 in the morning because we couldn't stay away. It was a fantastic match. And afterwards, we were talking about it this morning. He said he let the crowd down because he didn't win. Steve, he left everything he had on that court. He didn't let anybody down. He needs to understand that. Oh, by the way, speaking of the U.S. Open, it's championship weekend, my friend. And let's start later today at 4 o'clock with the women's final. Ons Jabeur was in the Wimbledon final. She couldn't get it done. She's got a chance to redeem herself by getting back to the U.S. Open final, but she's got to face the number one player in the world, Iga Swiatek. And she has not played her best tennis yet, Steve, but she's found a way to get all the way to the finals. I like Swiatek in 3 sets.
Hey, Andy, by the way, do you know that the WNBA Finals begins tomorrow? The Connecticut Sun at the Las Vegas Aces, and the first time in WNBA history that the game is sold out. The women's game is getting bigger. This is monumental. Becky Hammons takes her Las Vegas Aces and tries to win another championship. I'm going to be watching. Will you?
Browns will be on. I won't be watching. You'll have Red Zone on, I know, but you know, you got that covered. I got a little bit of a more important football game to watch. All right, that's it for. Oh, by the way, but we're not done, Steve. It's time to hurry it up.
Hurry up.
Listen, whether it was planned or not, I don't know if we did this the right way, but it ended up working out for us and for the fans as well. You know, we are here in our final breakdown of the quarterbacks, and we timed it out right to have the last division the day before week 1. Well, technically the Rams and Bills started week 1, so I guess maybe that doesn't count. But either way, let's just do it. Let's get into the NFC West quarterback rankings. All right, Steve, we had Drew Lock in this spot when we talked about this in our production meetings a few weeks ago, but Seattle's going to go with Geno Smith, so he's last.
He won the starting job, but if you look at the numbers, man, numbers are not really bad. He's a former second-round pick of the New York Jets. Hey, he completed 68% of his passes last year. Look at his touchdowns to interception rate and then his quarterback rating. Geno Smith might not be a bad option.
Well, we talked about the 49ers re-signing Jimmy Garoppolo, but it's Trey Lance's team as of right now, Steve. A lot of people have the Niners going to the Super Bowl because of this, but we're not going there just yet. We got them at 3.
Yeah, man, there's a lot of uncertainties, man. This kid has only played 22 games since his high school career has been over with. Look at his completion percentage, 57% of his passes, and that's Super Bowl bound. Man, you're going to have to show me. I am from Missouri, you know.
I think a lot of that is on the re-signing of Deebo Samuel more than it is Trey Lance. Number 2, Kyler Murray got that big contract extension, Steve. Can he live up to it?
Well, dude, look at it. He's completing almost 70% of his passes. His quarterback rating is over 100. Man, dude is almost thrown for 4,000 yards. He is a dual threat quarterback in the highest degree. Former first number 1 draft pick overall. And oh, by the way, did you know that he was a number 1 draft pick in baseball as well? I mean, the dude is a stud. Yeah. We got him at number 2.
And the only reason he's number 2 is because this guy won a Super Bowl last year. Even though he led the league in interceptions, it's Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, but he also led the league in damn touchdowns as well. So you get a little bit of the good and the bad. Matthew Stafford orchestrated 38 game-winning drives, including 31 fourth-quarter comebacks. Let that resonate for a minute. And the biggest one was in Super Bowl 56. Man, the rings and things that you sing about, Matthew Stafford can bring them out.
All right, let's summarize the NFC West, and that'll do it for our quarterback breakdown this year. We've got Kyler Murray at 2 in the division, 13 overall. Stafford is 1 in the division, 8th overall. Trey Lance 3 in the division, 25th, but that's because he hasn't seen the field too much. I think that's going to change after this season. And then Geno Smith's got to prove himself. We got him at last overall in the NFL. All right, there you have it. We've done every single division, every single quarterback. Where are we going to go next? It's time for some storylines. Biggest storyline has to be this one, Steve, and you and I are both dumbfounded that this has still not happened. What the hell are you doing, Baltimore Ravens?
No deal, man. And look here, what it's going to cost them is $23 million next year. And then you're probably going to have to franchise him, and then that's going to cost you in the neighborhood of 40 to 50 million. And then if you do it again, it's going to cost you another 40 to 50 million. So you want to pay this dude $125 million over the next 3 years? Well, you go ahead. He may pout along the way, but I tell you, he has handled it beautifully. But if this young man is definitely handling it, I love Lamar Jackson. But man, it sounds like to me you're gonna have Dallas problems, Dak problems, because remember Dallas ended up having to pay Dak $70 million last year. Man, that's what's gonna happen. The price keeps going up and up and up and up. All right, Baltimore, ball's in your court.
Here's the thing I don't understand, Steve. What the hell is your other option? What's plan B? You don't have a plan B. Pay the man. Right. He's earned it. Yeah. All right, speaking of earning it, this guy had a hell of a career. Emmanuel Sanders announces his retirement this week. He was drafted by Pittsburgh. That's why we've got him in a Pittsburgh jersey to start. But he's going to go out as a Bronco. He won a Super Bowl with Peyton Manning in Denver. He almost won another one had Buffalo got there last year. He would have had a chance at another one, I should say. But just an outstanding career. This guy was an underrated guy, Steve, but he helped a lot of teams get very far in the playoffs. Obviously, he helped Denver with the Super Bowl. Outstanding career. I don't know. You think he's going to get in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah. The one you're missing, though, Andy, is you remember he was the one that was wide open against Kansas City that Jimmy Garoppolo overthrew, okay? Yeah. That could have been another one had he caught that. So,
yeah. But real quick, you think he gets in the Hall of Fame?
Negative.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I don't think he did enough. All right, big story coming out of New York this week. Zach Wilson was optimistic, Steve, but the doctors were realistic, and it's going to be Joe Flacco for the first 4 weeks. He'll start week 1 against the Baltimore Ravens, his former team. We've got a theme going with that. We're going to start with this one. What do you think the Jets' chances are of not going 0-4 with Flacco at the helm?
I'm going to give him a milk chance, 2%.
I like that. Yeah. All right, obviously I've got my eye on this one the most. Baker against the Browns come tomorrow afternoon. You think it's going to be a rude awakening for the Browns? I think you could be right. However, I trust number 95 and number 90 getting to them at least 2 to 3 times. And if my friend Kevin Stefanski listens to you and me and does a 70-30 playbook, and 70% of that is Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb and Dearness Johnson and possibly Jerome Ford, I think Cleveland can escape with a win on the road.
And who I do trust is number 95, wholeheartedly. Who I don't trust is Kevin Stefanski. That's the problem here. That is the common theme in this whole story. Kevin Stefanski. Does he get it? We'll find out tomorrow. That's one of those. Can't wait.
All right, let's pick up the pace a little bit. Monday night, Russ has returned to Seattle on Monday Night Football. This is going to be exciting, Steve. I'm interested to see how the fans treat him. I hope they give him a standing ovation. After all, he took you to multiple Super Bowls. He won you the Super Bowl. He should have won you 2 Super Bowls, but we don't have that kind of time. I'm excited to watch his return.
Well,
and a lot of people think Denver are going to go to the playoffs. You and I don't think they're there just yet.
Now, just one step at a time, baby steps. But here's the thing, Andy. Reports came out this week that Seattle tried to trade him 4 years ago. To who? To the Cleveland Browns for the number 1 pick in the draft. So he's been knowing that for the last 4 years. That's why he's been ready to get the hell up out of there, man. I can't wait to see this. to take his phrase, let's ride.
Yeah, I think he's going to throw for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns and take it out on Seattle. All right, it's that time, my friend. It's time to make some picks. All right, here we go. We got our NFL Pick 6. We're going to do the who you got in college like we always do every week, but we're going to do a little bit different this year. So we're going to pick 3 random games as you've done here, and then we're going to take a team in each one of those games. Let's start at the top in the NFC North. It seems like this is the division every year, right? And Steve, I've got the Minnesota Vikings going to the playoffs. Well, I should say we've got them going as a wild card. They've got to make a statement if that's going to happen. I think they will at home. I like them to upset Green Bay at home in week 1. Give me Minnesota.
Wow. I tell you, man, the one constant is that man with 2 A's in his name. And also the fact you factor that in with a brand new coaching staff in a first game scenario against a division rival, man, I just think that's too much for Minnesota. Give me the Packers.
All right, this game, I mean, I hate you for putting this game in there. But I know why you did, and I respect why you did. And, everybody is high on the Chargers, except you and I, because they didn't address the biggest problem in the offseason, which was stopping the run. Guess who's got a running back? The Las Vegas Raiders. Guess who's got one of the best quarterbacks in the league? The Las Vegas Raiders. Guess who's got one of the best defensive lines in the league? The Las Vegas Raiders. I think the Raiders are going to set the world on fire this year, and they're going to do some damage, and it starts in week 1. They're going to go on the road and win in L.A. Give me the Raiders.
You know what, man? The running game of the Raiders is definitely why I'm leaning toward the Raiders. I do like a lot of the weapons that Herbert has, but I just rewind last year and just watch how physical the Raiders were and how punishing the Raiders were. Man, I'm going to take the road team. Give me the Raiders to get the job done.
All right, and I feel like this is the Sunday night game every season, right? Tampa Bay and Dallas. I mean, go back and look at it. If it wasn't last year, it was the year before, and it was a really good game. But everybody's talking about Tom Brady being too old, and Tom Brady doesn't have an offensive line, and this and that and the other. Steve, it's still Tom Brady. It's still week 1. I can't remember the last time he lost the week 1. I don't know what Dallas is doing right now, so I'm going to take Tampa on the road to go into Dallas and win in week 1.
All right. Zav called me yesterday, and he says he is betting on the Cowboys. He thinks the Cowboys are going to smack the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Me, on the other hand, I'm looking at the Cowboys and their deficiencies. They have the same deficiencies that the Rams had. They lost their left tackle. They also lost help on the outside at the wide receiver position. Man, I just think it's too early for Dallas. I think it's going to compromise them and give me the go to go on the road. So for me, give me the 3 road teams.
All right, so I've got Minnesota at home and the other 2. So once again, we almost picked the same games. That didn't go too well for us last week, and we'll get to that here in a little bit. All right, real quick, before we get into the college football poll, we got to really pick up the pace here. We've got our choices for teams that missed the playoffs last year but are going to make the playoffs this year. I already talked about Minnesota. I just like the coaching change. I like what they did in the offseason, Steve. I think Kirk Cousins has something to prove. Justin Jefferson is special. Give me Minnesota to make the playoffs. And then if they can keep it under control in Baltimore, you've got the Ravens getting back into the picture.
Man, the thing is, man, they missed the playoffs because everybody was damn hurt last year. Well, they got everybody back now this year, man. Why would I not go with the Ravens? Because if you remember, before everything got hurt, before Lamar got hurt, they were first in that division over, yes, even Cincinnati. So now that all of those dogs are back, you get Dobbins back, you get your offensive line help back, then you get your help back on your defense with Marcus Peters and company. Man, Baltimore is going to be a tough out.
Yeah, and we have them winning the North ahead of Cincinnati because of those reasons that you just stated. So, all right, let's get to the top 10, my friend. Hit that intro.
You've heard the rest. Now here's the best. It's the Keeping It Real Sports College Football Poll.
All right, let's fly through these, Steve. We got a shakeup in the top 10 this week. Let's start by bringing in a new team in USC who's at Stanford tonight.
Yeah, man, it's just, they come in, man. Lincoln Riley comes in and fixes the mess that was in USC. You see him put up 66 points against Rice last week. This week, it's a tough test. They got to go on the road and face the Stanford Cardinal. But this week, we got him at number 10.
All right, number 9. They're still in the top 10, but they dropped after last week, Notre Dame.
Yeah. No, I mean, they showed you, man, defensively. If you give Marcus Freeman time to put a defensive game plan together, he's definitely one of the best in the country doing that. We saw that last week. This week, they get Marshall, they get off the snide, and they get their first win.
All right, the Baylor Bears move up in our rankings. We had them at 10 last week. They're going up to 8 this week, and they got a big one on the road at BYU tonight.
Oh, absolutely, man. They won on the road. They won at home last week against Albany 69-10. They've got BYU. But, man, look, it is just business as usual for the Baylor Bears.
Speaking of business as usual, Texas A&M rising up the ranks as well. We've got them at 7.
Yeah, a lot of people really think that this is the trap game because of Appalachian State put up 61 points last week. But people, if you really look at it, Appalachian State was getting headed to them before they kind of laid down defensively. I'm talking about North Carolina State. I don't think Texas A&M does the same thing. I think they win big.
Steve, Appalachian State had to score 40 points just to have a chance in the fourth quarter.
Yes.
That will not happen against Texas A&M. All right, that school up north, we respect them even though we don't like them, Steve. Let's move them up the poll this week.
We definitely will, man. This week they get Hawaii, man. A 51-point favorite this week, man. I'm telling you, they really got started last week, 51-7 over Colorado State. So a little bit of sacrificial lamb this week. Hawaii.
All right, they started out slow, but then they really showed us who they were in the second half. Clemson drops a little bit, but not too far. We've got him at 5.
DJ Uiagalelei, he is just what we thought he was, man. He is not the quarterback as Sunshine is. I'm talking about Trevor Lawrence. It's a different kind of game. He's got a lot of skill around him, and Clemson uses that skill around him. They've got a get after you type defense. Clemson Tigers, number 5.
Number 4, Oklahoma made a statement. Dylan Gabriel in that offense looked special. Brett Venables had that defense ready to go. Oklahoma has a defense, Steve. Watch out.
Look, Brett Venables, man, he understands defense. Look what they did to UTEP last week, 45-13. But the dotting of the I's and crossing the T's is what was impressive to me. This week, it's Kent State. But, man, Oklahoma is solid.
Speaking of sacrificial lambs, that'll be a sacrificial lamb for Oklahoma today. And speaking of sacrificial lambs, again, Arkansas State going to lose by 50 or 70. What do you think? Ohio State's down to number 3.
It won't be pretty. It won't be pretty. We saw the Buckeyes fall to number 3 this week. Last week, a tough win over Notre Dame, 21-10. We saw a different style of way to play for Ohio State. I really like that. I like what they're doing. I like where they're going. We got them number 3 this week.
And the reason they're number 3 is because you had to put Georgia at number 2 after what they did to Oregon last week.
Man, they just took the can off and just whipped Oregon. It was not even close. Now, but if you go back before, it was 7-0 when Bo Nix threw the big interception, and then everything went downhill after that for Oregon. But kudos to Georgia for just really, man, putting their foot on the throat, man, and getting it done and over with early. This week in Stanford, they'll get much of the same thing.
Can you imagine the reaction when Bo Nix saw the schedule come out? Because he left Auburn to get away from playing Georgia, and then he lost
good luck
to
with
Georgia.
that, buddy.
And number 1, listen, a lot of people had Georgia at 1, not us. How can you move down a team that wins by 55 points, Steve?
Yeah, man, 55-0. And Will Anderson, man, he's the real deal. Today is Texas. I'm telling you what's going to happen today. Man, Alabama is going to enter Texas Stadium. And you remember what they used to do to Seals when it was too many Seals? They would give a bunch of people that are close to homers. See, they give them clubs and tell them to go out and club Seals. Well, that's what's going to happen to Texas today. They're going to get clubbed like a Seal. Alabama Crimson Tide big.
I'm interested to watch Quinn Ewers, though, and see when all the
Oh, I
hype
want
is
to see the
about.
pouting. That's what I
Yeah.
want to see. I want to see the pouting.
All right, speaking of what you want to see, give me some other games that you've got your eye on here for week number 2.
Well, other than the Texas-Alabama game, the big game that I'm looking at is USC and Stanford, man. That's going to be one that we pick. I'm going to tell you another one to keep your eye on is Florida. Florida, I am really watching Florida, man. They get Kentucky today. They go on the road to play Kentucky. That could be problematic, but we'll see.
Actually, they're in the swamp again this week. That game's at home. So we'll see if that makes a difference for Anthony Richardson. Speaking of these games, I've got my eye on Tennessee-Pittsburgh. That's going to be a shootout and a fun game to watch. Let's see if Pittsburgh can back up what they did at the Backyard Brawl. All right, it's time for Who You Got. Hit that intro.
Ladies and gentlemen, are you ready?
All right, partner, before we get to our picks, I got to reveal what we did last week because it did not go well.
Hey, look, man. At least I got a dub last week.
You
okay?
got a dub. Yeah, you did. But had I read that pick the right way, by the way, we both would have been 1-2. But all right, that was last week. This week, let's start with the rivalry game. Iowa State and Iowa. I'm going to go into this, Steve. Iowa has beaten Iowa State 6 straight years. The defense is one of the best in the Big Ten. I know they had an egg against who was it last week? I can't remember. But anyways, they have Iowa State's number. So give me Iowa at home in another Kinnick wave onto another one.
Man. Corey Taylor, the punter for Iowa, was the star of the game last week. He had 10 punts, 7 punts that was inside the 20-yard line. He set up not one, but 2 safeties for the team as they won the game 7-3. And he is a weapon. They're going to have to do more today, even though Iowa State is on the road. Give me Iowa State.
Wow. Okay. All right, one of the matchups everybody's got their eye on this week because it's a battle of 2 teams in the top 25. Baylor goes into BYU, and we had that wrong, Steve, so we want to clarify for everybody when we make our pick. It's actually BYU that's favored by 2.5, not Baylor. Here are my thoughts on this game. Baylor 7-1 against the spread against ranked teams since 2020. BYU has failed to cover in its last 6 games against top 10 opponents. Baylor 5-0 against the spread in the last 5 non-conference games. And Baylor won by 14 last year, even though it was in Baylor. I just think they're a better football team, Steve. Give me Baylor on the road.
Yeah, man, you're going to give me 2.5? Man, I got to roll with me the Bears.
All right, and then our last pick. This is the toughest one of all because of what the spread is. We had to go with the rivalry game. USC at Stanford. Can Lincoln Riley go on the road and make another statement this week? Well, Stanford is 1-10 against the spread in their last 10 games. They have not covered in 8 straight. USC is 11-0 as a road favorite and 7 or more since 2014. This is a different offense, Steve. This is not your smack 'em up typical rivalry game. I think Lincoln Riley can get points up on the board. I don't think Stanford has the offense to keep up with those points. Give me USC on the road to cover.
Tanner McKee, the quarterback for Stanford, threw for 308 yards, 2 touchdowns, and an interception last week versus Holgate. Running back E.J. Smith, that is Emmitt Smith's son, had 118 yards rushing, and he added a touchdown. Man, I tell you, 8 is a tough ask to go on the road against Stanford, and I know that USC look good offensively, but the physicality of Stanford, can they overcome that? I think USC wins the game. But give me Stanford in those 8 points.
Okay. All right. So it's week 2, and we already got a chance to separate ourselves from each other. This is going to be fun, just like it was last year. All right, partner. We've got one more special feature that we're adding for the football season. And did you see that, dude?
Man, Andy, this is what we're going to start doing. Every week, we're going to give you that dude of the week. And we mean that. Last week, Andy, after looking no further than Florida's quarterback, Anthony Richardson, he eludes two guys here and throws a 2-point conversion to take the lead against Utah. His decision-making, his ability to throw the football down the field constantly, oh my goodness, man. I love this kid. He is definitely last week's that dude.
And that is another episode in the books. What a special one it was. Our 50th episode 1 year ago. We started this thing on Zoom. Can you believe it? Can you believe that?
Yeah,
I mean, we have really have come a long way. You know, we're not ones to often give ourselves too much credit, but Steve, we've done a hell of a lot of work to get us where we are now, and it's only going to get better from here. And again, we can't thank you all enough for staying with us and believing in us and understanding that this thing is headed to bigger and better things. We love you all, and we appreciate you all, and we love to do this for you. So thank you once again. And man, it's almost emotional. It's hard to believe it's been a year already.
50. Yeah, I can't wait for the next 50, man. But I tell you, we thank you once again, man. You know, make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you let us know what you want to hear, man, and what you want us to talk about. We would definitely do that. Hey, another one in the book. Andy, until next week.
We wish you love.
And peace. Deuces.